The little girl was criticized by her teacher every time she scored full marks, until this time when she scored 0 points. The teacher was finally satisfied and took her to the office. Looking at the test paper in his hand, the girl was about to explain, but suddenly her mouth was covered. The girl struggled desperately, and accidentally tore off the teacher's skin. The girl, who saw this, was stunned, but in the next second, she lost consciousness. The teacher hurriedly started repairing the damaged skin. He was afraid that others would notice something was wrong. But suddenly, a knock on the door sounded. The man hurriedly laid the girl flat. Then the door opened. The female teacher's sudden intrusion disrupted his plan. The man quickly said the girl was unwell. He asked the female teacher to watch over the child while he went outside to call for help. But the female teacher didn't expect that the man secretly locked the door. Then, he casually picked up a wire and quickly looped it around the woman's neck. She stopped breathing after struggling for just a few seconds. The man hastily packed up the computer, opened the prepared cart, and shoved the girl inside. He then pushed the cart out of the room. This was the most prestigious aristocratic school. It not only had sons from respected noble families, but even the children of ambassadors attended here. For this reason, the school hired veterans to handle security, and the girl the man kidnapped was the daughter of a congressman. Daisy, the head of the school security, came to the cafeteria for a routine check, but found that the girl who should have been eating was absent. After learning that she had been called away by the teacher, Daisy's eyes filled with tension. She hurriedly asked the principal to go with her, because the teacher's behavior was completely out of procedure. But the principal couldn't open the door, despite trying several keys. Daisy realized something was wrong. She quickly pulled out her gun and kicked open the wooden door. But upon entering, there was only the female teacher lying on the floor. Daisy immediately called her colleagues to secure the area. But by then, the man had already left the school. When the security guards arrived, they couldn't even find a trace of him. The man vanished into the crowd. He took the little girl to a yacht, and the news about the school was playing on the TV. The man took off the mask he used to disguise himself as a teacher. Now, aside from the little girl, no one else knew her face. The incident caught the attention of an old police officer. The police had no leads at all. Even the girl's parents couldn't think of any suspicious individuals. There hadn't even been a ransom call so far. Jeff was still intently watching the news. Suddenly, a frantic ringtone echoed through the house. To his surprise, the voice of the little girl was heard on the other end. This immediately made him think of the school kidnapping case. But why would the kidnapper contact him? Jeff didn't have time to think. He quickly recorded the call. However, the kidnapper had already altered the voice, so it was impossible to tell whether it was male or female. It seemed the kidnapper was after Jeff. He hurriedly left the phone and ran out of the room. Sure enough, in the mailbox, he found a pair of red leather shoes. Without thinking much, he sped towards the school. After confirmation by the police, the shoes were indeed the ones the girl wore today. But what puzzled everyone was, why would the kidnapper contact Jeff? What was the kidnapper's goal? The police soon began analyzing the phone recording. There was a cryptic line in the recording that puzzled them even more. They believed it was just an attempt to confuse them, hoping to mislead the investigation. But Jeff felt there was more to it. In order to find clues from the recording, he, accompanied by Daisy, went to the kidnapper's office. A picture frame on the wall caught Jeff's attention. It was obvious that it had been tampered with. This was most likely a clue left by the kidnapper. Then, Jeff found something on the girl's computer, a frame from the classroom monitor footage, which had somehow disappeared from the display stand. After carefully comparing, he believed the person in the photo was the real killer.
He didn't just kidnap a little girl, he turned it into a game.
Jeff enlarged the photo. Just as they were about to examine more details, they didn't expect the mouse click to redirect them to another scene. The network security officer immediately recognized it as a system that could reverse view live scenes through cameras. Jeff then zoomed in and discovered this was a secret room where the killer watched the monitors, but locating it became the primary challenge. After adjusting the computer's direction, he finally found a clue on a medicine bottle. The police quickly arrived, but the place was already empty. It was clear that the kidnapper had left the address deliberately. Next, they discovered more details of his kidnapping plans on an entire wall. They didn't expect the kidnapper had been lurking in the school for 2 years. An old newspaper on the wall finally made Jeff understand why the kidnapping case was linked to him. It turned out that years ago, they had sent an undercover agent, but the man had accidentally discovered the listening device. Even though the female officer had controlled the situation, the car had an accident during transit. The man was thrown off a cliff, and the female officer fell after him. Jeff had been the one to direct the operation. Clearly, the man had survived that accident. The police also found residual silicone in the room, which explained why the teacher became the kidnapper. Then, Jeff found a criminology book on the bookshelf, and the contents matched exactly with what the kidnapper said in the recording. The book documented a kidnapping incident from years ago. Jeff deduced that the killer wanted to commit a century-old crime, which would not only disgrace Jeff, but also make him immortal. The next day, the police held a press conference. Jeff deliberately praised the kidnapper during the conference, hoping that the man would, like an idol, release the hostage once the world knew about him. But now, how to save Lisa was the the most important thing. However, one question kept bothering Jeff. Why would the killer choose Lisa as the hostage? Some students had more prominent statuses, and Lisa's parents were just ordinary people. If the kidnapper wanted fame, it was clear that the ambassador's son would have been the best target. Jeff and the team went to the embassy to inquire, but were told that the child was very safe there. They had no choice but to leave. But what no one knew was, the kidnapper had already used Lisa's social media account to find the boy. The innocent boy mistakenly thought his classmate had escaped. At this moment, Jeff and the team had lost all leads. Daisy suggested that rather than blindly searching outside, they should take their chances here, which might be the best way to find the killer. Jeff agreed with Daisy's suggestion. Meanwhile, the boy had sneaked out of his room while the security guard was away. Using his knowledge of the environment, he easily avoided the monitoring range. This moment was precisely seen by Daisy in the car. Just as the boy entered the phone booth, the kidnapper also stepped down from the stolen police car. The boy didn't realize the danger approaching. Suddenly, a bright lightning bolt split the sky, allowing Jeff to clearly see the man's face. They quickly turned the car around and rushed forward. At this point, the kidnapper realized he was exposed, and ran frantically toward the police car. To protect the boy, Daisy parked the car in front of the phone booth, but this allowed the kidnapper to escape again. Soon, the embassy's security guards arrived, and without saying a word, they restrained the two of them. The police quickly arrived at the scene, and they sealed off all exits within a 50 kilometers radius. Since Jeff had disrupted the kidnapper's plan, he was furious and pulled out his gun to execute the boy. However, when he angrily opened the door, he found Lisa had already disappeared. On the other side, Daisy felt guilty for letting the man go. She had a chance to kill the killer, but she didn't dare to shoot. While Daisy was upset, she didn't expect the kidnapper to call again. He demanded $10 million worth of diamonds as ransom. Under the strong demand of the girl's parents, the police had no choice but to follow the kidnapper's instructions, and put the diamonds into a thermos. Jeff took the ransom and went to the delivery point alone. Even though the police had already set up an ambush, the kidnapper was one step ahead. He kept changing locations through the phone. To meet the kidnapper's demands, Jeff had to run all the way, getting out of breath from exhaustion, spending several hours to finally reach a crowded subway station. This was undoubtedly the biggest challenge for the police. Next, Jeff boarded the designated train at the last moment, as the kidnapper requested. Luckily, Daisy managed to follow him. Jeff, following the kidnapper's instructions, arrived at the first car of the train. To everyone's surprise, the kidnapper was one step ahead. Jeff had no choice but to break the glass, throwing the $10 million diamonds out of the car. The kidnapper easily retrieved the ransom, which led to condemnation from all sectors. But Jeff began to feel troubled. According to the case files, the kidnapper from that year never asked for ransom. This made him suspect that the man's original goal was different. As he and Daisy rechecked the kidnapper's files, they heard a knock at the door. When Daisy opened it, she was knocked out by an electric baton. Jeff never imagined that the fugitive wanted for the entire city would appear in his own house, but in order to safely find Lisa, he chose to hand over his firearm. The kidnapper thought of himself as a gift from God to Jeff, because only he could fulfill the kidnapper's goal. But Jeff disagreed. He believed that since the kidnapper had already received $12 million in ransom, Lisa should be released now. But unexpectedly, when the man heard this, he started crying. He envied Lisa for having such loving parents. This was the reason behind the kidnapper's twisted mind. Lack of parental love led him to burn his house down at 15, killing his parents while they slept. But then the man became calm again. From Jeff, he learned that Lisa hadn't been rescued by the police, but now, he needed a new hostage. Just when he was about to kidnap Daisy, he didn't expect to be attacked by her with a knife. The man knocked Daisy out with one punch, and Jeff quickly grabbed the hunting rifle in the house. This time, he didn't hesitate. He shot the man straight to hell. But this frightened Daisy. She kept questioning Jeff why he had killed the kidnapper. Not just her. Lisa's parents were even angrier. The only person who knew where their daughter was, the kidnapper, had now died, which meant there was no more chance to find the child. But Jeff told them that the case wasn't over yet. It seemed he already knew the truth. When he deliberately misstated the ransom amount, he observed that the kidnapper hadn't noticed the discrepancy, so he was certain that the kidnapper had never received the diamonds. This meant that someone else had received the ransom. Also, the kidnapper's inconsistent statements about Lisa's location made Jeff realize that Lisa was probably no longer in his hands. Then, he returned to the school, and by simulating the kidnapper's actions and reviewing the case, he concluded that the real mastermind was close by. Because the police in the footage had chased the kidnapper to the school gates, but never used the intercom to notify the guards, the conclusion was obvious. This police officer had known about the kidnapper's plan all along. At this moment, the police officer was unaware that his plot had already been exposed. But how could such a mundane ending satisfy the viewers? When the police officer realized something was wrong, he was held at gunpoint from behind. To everyone's surprise, it was Daisy who appeared behind him. But what no one expected was that she was in on it with the officer. When she learned that he had received the diamonds but hadn't disposed of Lisa, Daisy became agitated.
You think Alex Cross is a half-wit? You really believe that he shot Sanji to save my life? Cross pulled the trigger because he knew Sanji didn't have Megan anymore.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that sooner or later he's gonna figure it out. He already knows Sanji didn't run the ransom.
He's onto us already, isn't he?
No, he's not onto us. But I think he's onto you.
To eliminate any future threats, Daisy decisively dealt with her accomplice. Now, she only needed to eliminate Lisa, and she would have no more worries. Daisy then went to the barn, ready to harm Lisa, but she didn't expect Lisa to be planning an escape. When Daisy tried to push open the wooden door, she found it blocked from the inside. She had no choice but to lie, saying she was there to rescue the girl, hoping to lure her out of the room. Hearing the familiar voice, Lisa excitedly ran to the door, but just as she was about to push open the iron bed, she realized something was wrong. If it was really the police coming to rescue her, why was it so eerily quiet outside? Daisy realized her lie had been exposed, so she no longer pretended. She pulled out her gun and fired wildly into the room. Meanwhile, Jeff thought about Daisy's longtime partnership with the police, hoping to get some information from her, but Daisy wasn't in her room. However, Jeff found more details about the kidnapping plan in her computer. At that moment, he realized Daisy was also involved. He then found their rented farm in the computer, and by now, Daisy had completely lost her mind. She climbed onto the roof and pulled out her gun again, planning to solve this problem from the skylight. Lisa, thinking quickly, climbed up the bed frame, punched through the light bulb, and as Daisy turned on the flashlight, she successfully pried open the wooden board and escaped. Panicked, Lisa ran around, but was suddenly grabbed by a large hand covering her mouth. To her surprise, Jeff had arrived at the crucial moment. Seeing Daisy pass by, Jeff decisively walked out. He hoped Daisy would surrender, but Daisy, who had come this far, would never give up. Just when she was about to take a chance, she didn't expect Jeff to pull the trigger first. Lisa was successfully rescued.